Hi, I'm Michael Makovsky. Welcome to another episode of Snapshot. I'm the president and CEO of JINSA. I'm here with my colleague, Blaise Misztal, our VP for Policy. Blaise, good to see you. It's Friday afternoon, November 14th.
And we're both good to be with you, Mike.
We're both dressed in suits and ties. My excuse
like we are every day.
Yeah. I had a meeting at a West European embassy, and they're a little more formal. So that's my excuse. Blaise, let's talk about what was, what is, what will be soon. How's that? All right. So what was this week? The early Sharaa, the leader of the new Syrian leader, although he doesn't control all of Syria, but he's certainly is replaced. He's controls Damascus and some other parts. Former Muslim extremist, maybe still a Muslim extremist, but he wore a nice suit, a tie, and Trump seems taken by him. He met him when he was out there. How did? And by the way, how was his trip? How did it go? I mean, he went from a guy that was trying to killing Americans. I think now he was welcomed in the Oval Office by the President of the United States. It's a pretty good day for him. What do you think?
Yeah, Mike, it just goes to show that conversions still do happen on the road to Damascus. In this case, the conversion from Mohammed Al-Sharaa, an Al-Qaeda and ISIS member, to Ahmed Al-Sharaa, a world stage politician that is embraced in the Oval Office. And more than that, I think even telling, is for a guy who used to kill Americans, be imprisoned by Americans as a terrorist. He's now shooting hoops with Admiral Brad Cooper, the head of CENTCOM. It's really remarkable. But I think that, obviously the meeting itself, that it happened, was momentous. Syria as a country hasn't had relations with the United States basically in any form for more than 50 years. That this guy who used to be maybe an extremist is willing to come to the White House is a big deal. But I think there was not a whole lot accomplished. On the one hand, that he had to be brought in through a side door into the White House still shows that the willingness to embrace the United States is not quite there. He can't tell his people, I'm going to the White House. It's still somewhat secret, not a full visit, which I think is problematic. And then I think neither side really left all that fulfilled beyond the fact that the meeting happened. Al-Sharaa came to Washington hoping to get this big set of economic sanctions against Syria that are part of legislation called the Caesar Act. He was hoping to get that lifted. Instead, all he got was a 6-month waiver. So those sanctions are still in place, although they're not being enforced for the next 6 months. And I think President Trump was hoping to get some sort of a deal between Syria and Israel, at the very least a security agreement about southern Syria, about keeping Syrian forces away from the Israeli border. And he didn't get that either. So the meeting was an advance in U.S.-Syrian relations, but I don't think has really resulted in a big transformation. And I'll just note, for me, I was really concerned seeing a Washington Post interview that Sharaa gave in which he was asked about the 9/11 attacks and why he would be part of an organization that would do something like that. And he didn't really give a good answer. He just said, well, I was too young at that time to have any role in it. And when I joined, I was just a freedom fighter. I think at the very least, if this is someone the U.S. is going to do business with, he should be willing to own up to his own past and denounce it and put it behind him rather than just put a fig leaf over it.
Yeah. He also was asked a similar question on, I think, Fox News, and he also pretty much punted, which was obviously kind of telling. Look, Trump has embraced him. He'd been encouraged by the Turks, and I think the Turk foreign minister was in the meeting, which is kind of interesting. Maybe partly because our envoy to Turkey is also the guy who's kind of like a super envoy. He's also dealing with Syria. But the Turkish foreign minister was there because clearly this administration sees Turkey kind of part of the solution. Certainly, I think more so than we do. But also, he's embraced them. There's certainly maybe an opportunity. You want to make sure that you would like to at least see that he could be more part of with the good guys in the region. Not the Turks per se, but with the Saudis and other Gulf countries. On the other hand, I mean, it's very clear when you talk to Israelis, they're very suspicious of him. Once Islamic extremists, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, always that way. Personally, I'm more with the Israelis on this. I'm very skeptical. And, you know, the killing, really the massacre of Alawites that we've seen in Syria and also in the Druze in the south. And my concern about the Kurds in the Northeast, I'm very suspicious. I'm very hesitant about certainly the administration, the Trump administration, particularly Barrack, our ambassador in Turkey who's dealing with this, really wants to supporting and centralizing more control in Damascus. Personally, I'd like to see a weaker control and a lot more autonomy and independence for these minorities. But let's, I want to cover two more things, Blaise. Let's talk about next week. We got MBS, the Saudi crown prince coming to the White House. What do you think is coming? Before I forget, before we move on, I was saying I'm glad about the sanctions. The JINSA was against lifting these Caesar sanctions. We think any lifting of sanctions should be conditional on how the Sharaa and his regime behaves for minorities and so on. So at least that didn't happen. So let's talk about next week. The Saudi crown prince is coming to the White House. What are your thoughts coming into that meeting?
Yeah, I think there's been a revolving door installed at the White House, given all these high-profile visits that we're having back to back. Look, I think President Trump is, on a streak of deal making across the world, particularly in the Middle East, and there's no deal bigger to be made than Israeli-Saudi normalization. And I think now with the Gaza war, if not over, then at least calmed down thanks to President Trump's peace plan. He is pushing hard to get normalization done. And I think that is largely what this meeting is going to be about. I think the thing that I'll be watching, Mike, is how much the U.S. gives away before normalization happens. I think it's very important that things like giving Turkey an F-35,
Given Saudi Arabia, you mean?
So I'm sorry, it's giving Saudi Arabia the F-35, or signing a defense pact with the Saudis, like President Trump did with Qatar, or agreeing to a nuclear deal with them, doesn't happen until normalization with Israel happens, because otherwise we're giving away the leverage that would induce the Saudis to sign with Israel, and I think that really needs to be the priority. How about you? What are you going to be watching?
Well, no, I agree. I mean, Trump made it more difficult for himself by giving this security guarantee to Qataris. So obviously the Saudis at least want something like that after this. Now, this is not a treaty. It's just it's only it's a commitment just for this administration, and the next president could choose or not to follow it. But I agree with you. I think obviously we want to embrace the Saudis. I think the improvement in Saudi-U.S. relations, certainly since the Biden administration, well, I guess their low point was around in 2022. Would improve near the end of the Biden administration. But I think this improvement in relations with the Saudis has been very important and positive. But obviously, I don't think the United States should be giving away all the goodies outside of a normalization process. Now, it's possible maybe Trump could say, we'll give F-35s to the Saudis, but we're only really gonna implement this, or it's going to take a long time, but it's going to really fully execute it, could be dependent on normalization. He could say something like that, I think. But I agree with you. I'm concerned about it, and it should remain. I think one of the secrets of the Abraham Accords was that the countries in the region, the participants, like the Emiratis, Bahrainis, they knew it meant you want to have better relations with the United States. It means you have to normalize relations with Israel, and I think that's going to be cleared. Look, if I'm the Saudis, you might say, look, there might be a pause in the Gaza war, but it's not over yet, and I don't know how much I really want to go too far on this till I see how this plays out, because it's very possible Israel's going to have to, this could get bloody again in Gaza, I can understand perhaps some of their hesitance, but it means the U.S., I think, should also be a bit cautious.
Of course, there's been another development this week, Mike, which I think will impact prospects for normalization as well. And that's Minister of Strategic Affairs, Ron Dermer, and your former counterpart on the Diplomatically Incorrect podcast, stepping down from his position. And he's obviously been key both in Israel's relations with the U.S. and with Saudi Arabia. So what do you think the implications of his departure will be?
And not forget, he was a distinguished fellow with JINSA right before he became a minister and after he stepped down as ambassador to Washington. So, look, I don't know if his departure impacts normalization so much right now, but I think the biggest thing, first of all, I think we should recognize that I think Dermer did an amazing job. I think really an historic job in his position, particularly on the Iran issue, which was really his most important priority. Of course, he also was very involved in settling with the Trump plan, the Gaza issue and getting all the hostages back. But his main issue for all his time in public service has really been Iran and preventing a nuclear Iran. And I think he played a really critical role in Israel's campaign in the 12-day war in June. Not obviously on the military side so much, but on working with the United States and obviously Trump's and the U.S. participation at the end with the B-2s were critical. So I really think, and I can't imagine, and the problem with his departure is, one, he's a highly impressive guy who's knows more about America than anyone at senior levels in the Israeli political system, and is trusted by Netanyahu, and is, so I don't know how it won't be easy for Netanyahu not to have Ron in there all the time. I think, we'll see what he decides to do once he, you would think that Netanyahu will try to pull him in for something here or there. I think particularly maybe for the United States, but we'll see how that plays out. But I think what we see is also, unfortunately, there's kind of a drop-off in expertise in this government, but also in the whole political system of Israel with Ron out. I don't think there's, expertise on international relations, but particularly with the United States, Israel's closest ally. And I think that's going to be, that might be the biggest challenge and the biggest vacuum, plus the fact that, Netanyahu doesn't have someone like him that he so completely trusts and respects. So, but, we'll see. We don't know how long this government is going to last in Israel, and we'll have to see. One would expect there might be new elections in the spring. But anyway, we want to wish Ron well, and really, I thought he did an amazing, historic job in his position, and what he did, I think no one else in Israel could have done. So.
I fully concur. We are releasing next week our account of Operation Rising Lion. And in the interviews that we did for that, it became very clear that Ron played an instrumental role in managing the relationship with the United States in such a way and to the purpose of having Operation Midnight Hammer happen, having the US B-2s join in. And I'm not sure anyone else in Israel could have accomplished that in the way that he did. So I think the world owes him a debt of gratitude for what he was able to do.
I also think he's the leading Trumpologist in the world. I think he understands Trump more than anybody else, and that's been a great skill for the Israelis to have. All right, well, Blaise, thanks for joining, and I wish you and everybody listening a good weekend. We'll look forward to speaking to you in a week.
Likewise, Mike. See you next week.
Take care.